You're sitting in seat 24A, headphones in, maybe a snack on your tray. Outside that little window, the world is 35,000 feet below you. You glance over. Maybe you've done it 100 times, but today, something hits you. Why is that window oval? Every single window on every passenger plane you've ever been on. Oval, rounded edges, no corners. Why not a square? Why not a rectangle? You'd get more view. It'd look cleaner even. Turns out, there's a very specific reason. And once you find out what it is, you'll never look at a plane window the same way again. To understand why plane windows are round today, we have to go back to when commercial flying first started taking off, literally in the 1930s and 40s. Back then, planes flew low, really low. We're talking maybe 8,000 to 10,000 feet. At that altitude, the air pressure inside the cabin and the air pressure outside were close enough that it didn't really matter. So the windows back then, square, rectangular, simple. Nobody thought twice about it. But after World War II ended, engineers started pushing planes higher and faster. Higher altitude meant less air resistance, which meant faster travel and cheaper fuel. Sounds great, right? But it came with a serious problem that nobody fully understood yet. In 1952, a British plane called the de Havilland Comet became the world's first commercial jet airliner. It was fast, it was modern, it flew at 40,000 feet. People were amazed by it. But then something terrifying started happening. Planes started falling out of the sky. In 1954, 2 Comet jets broke apart mid-flight over the ocean, killing everyone on board. No obvious mechanical failure, no bad weather, no explanation. The British government launched one of the biggest aviation investigations in history. They pulled planes apart, they ran tests. And eventually, they found the answer. It was hiding in the corners of the windows. Here's the thing about flying at high altitude. The cabin has to be pressurized, pumped full of air so passengers can breathe. But outside the plane, the air is extremely thin. That difference in pressure puts stress on the entire body of the aircraft. Think of it like inflating a balloon inside a metal tube. Now, when you cut a square or rectangular hole into that metal, like a window, something called stress concentration happens. The pressure doesn't spread out evenly. Instead, it gets pulled toward the corners. The corners act like little magnets for stress, and over time, after hundreds of flights and hundreds of pressurizations, those corners start to crack. The cracks grow, and eventually, the metal fails, explosively. That's what brought down the Comets. The square windows were literally tearing the planes apart from the inside. Once engineers figured this out, the fix was actually pretty elegant. Round shapes don't have corners. So when pressure pushes against them, it spreads evenly all the way around the curve. No single weak point, no stress magnet. The force just flows continuously around the shape. It's the same reason arches have been used in bridges and buildings for thousands of years. The Romans knew it. The Egyptians knew it. And now aircraft engineers knew it too. After the Comet disasters, every major aircraft manufacturer rethought their window designs. Rounded corners became the standard. And as planes have gotten bigger and fly even higher, the oval shape has only become more important, not less. Today's planes like the Boeing 787 fly at up to 43,000 feet, with cabin pressure constantly fighting against the thin air outside. That oval window isn't just a design choice. It's a life-saving piece of engineering. Now here's where it gets even more interesting. Next time you're on a plane, look really closely at your window. You'll notice there are actually 3 layers to it. 3 panes of thick acrylic. And if you look at the middle layer, you'll spot a tiny hole, like someone poked it with a pin. That little hole is called the bleed hole, and it's there on purpose. The outer pane is your main line of defense. It takes the full force of the pressure difference, and it's built incredibly tough. The inner pane is mostly there for passengers. It protects you from the cold and stops you from pressing your face against the pressure pane. The middle pane with the hole, that's the backup. If the outer pane ever fails, which is extremely rare, the middle one takes over. But the hole is there to equalize pressure between those two panes so the inner one doesn't get pushed toward you. It also vents out moisture, which is why you almost never see fog or condensation on the inside of an airplane window. One more thing, why are plane windows so small? Why not make them bigger for a better view? A bigger window means a bigger hole in the fuselage. Bigger hole means more metal removed. More metal removed means more structural weakness to compensate for. More weight, more cost. The size of every airplane window is a very deliberate calculation between giving you a view and keeping the plane from falling apart. Here's what I love about this story. The comet disasters in 1954 were tragic. People lost their lives. An entire industry was shaken. But the investigation that followed completely transformed aviation safety. The lessons learned from those square windows didn't just change window design. They changed how engineers think about every single part of a plane. Fatigue testing, running a component through thousands of stress cycles to find where it breaks, became standard practice after the comet. Before 1954, nobody really did that. After 1954, it became non-negotiable. Commercial aviation today is statistically the safest form of transport in human history. And part of the reason you feel safe at 35,000 feet is because of engineers who looked at those crashes and asked, why did this happen, and how do we make sure it never happens again? The answer was always in the corners. So next time you look at that little oval window, the smooth curve, no corners, no weak points, you're looking at one of the most important design lessons in engineering history. It's not round because it looks nice. It's round because something went very wrong a long time ago. And the people who came after made sure it would never go wrong in the same way again. And that is why airplane windows are round and not square. If you made it this far, thank you. This is exactly the kind of question I love digging into. The kind where the answer seems simple until you realize there's a whole world hiding underneath it. If you've got a why question, drop it in the comments. The best ones are going on the list. Like this video if you learned something, subscribe if you want more, and I'll see you in the next one.